Well, good evening and welcome back to another episode of Cozy Old School RuneScape Lore, the podcast where we explore the people, the places, the pieces of paper that tell us about this world and its history. This is the world of Gillinor in Old School RuneScape, and I'm your host Drifteray, and tonight we are continuing with the third episode of this new sub-series where we're locked to the Kingdom of Varlamore and we're exploring it one chunk at a time. We can't go beyond our current chunk until all the tasks related to that chunk are done. Well, last time we finished off the Mistrock region and we moved into a chunk just to the north on Aldarin, and we finished off the one task that was there, which was pickpocket a citizen. And now we get to explore this chunk a little bit more and find the lore that can be found here. So, I have a couple notes about production aspects before I dive into this chunk. One is that, thanks to viewer feedback, listener feedback, I got a different mouse that I hope provides a more pleasant experience. This is what it sounds like. There's a couple different sounds depending on where I click it. But I'm going to try to click it here because I think this might give them the nicest, thockiest sound. You hear that? I hope that that's good. Compare this to the old mouse, which sounded more like this. I hope the new one works good. Okay, so yeah, I also, because this mouse is a silent mouse, it's like if the microphone was as far away as it normally is, you probably wouldn't be able to hear it at all. For example, it'd be really hard to hear. So I moved the microphone to the other side of the desk, so it's pointing right at the mouse, so that I hope you can hear it a little bit better. And then it brings some pleasing sounds into your evening. Yeah, so that's basically the main stuff, I think production-wise. Now, even though we finished off the chunk tasks for this chunk, we need to dive into some of the lore of this specific chunk. One thing I want to talk about right off the bat is how we started off in Mistrock. And in Mistrock, we learned a little bit more about why humans and dwarves might be in tension, or why they are in this sort of cultural tension, because dwarves lived in this region first, and then humans came in and changed everything, and now the dwarves are in a state of like relative poverty, economic disenfranchisement, and separated from the land from a lot of the land that they used to have. One of the dwarves, I don't know if it was Ikta, maybe it was the overseer in Mistrock, said that humans have all sorts of cities in this area, but dwarves only have two, Camtorum and Mistrock. And Mistrock is a very small town. It's an industrial town. It's surrounded by some trees for wood cutting. The only other... Oh, there's also a couple spaces to fish. But the only real industry there is mining. And the mining industry is profitable because it feeds the winery industry in just one chunk to the north of Mistrock that we haven't unlocked yet. We can go there. One chunk to the north, there's the wineries up there, and the wineries use the metal from the mines in their presumably like their casks, their like final, like their equipment, their machinery, their final probably like ways of like storing the wine for like long term when they're going to sell it and stuff like that, maybe. And so this profitable wine industry is what is supporting Mistrock as an economic center itself, but a much smaller one. And so Mistrock is kind of in this state of supporting this like much more lucrative business, and so Mistrock necessarily is kind of subjugated in its economic, just in its wealth. And we see this huge wealth disparity on Aldarin. This area of Mistrock is just a couple chunks, and the rest of Aldarin is like 4 chunks, and has massive houses, these big fancy villas, has all these wineries, and one of the houses has its own theater. That's the chunk we're in today, that we're going to explore that house. And I think it's just such a good analog for the world we live in today. I live in North America, and wealth disparity is such a massive part of this society. And so we can see that modeled somewhat here in RuneScape. And it's so easy in RuneScape often to just, as a player, to just view the resources, the areas, as just something to be interacted with, something to extract wealth from ourselves. But one of the things I'm appreciating about this chunk series is that it gives us an opportunity to really understand an area a little bit better, and that's what's happened for me. I had never really understood the kind of economic system and the power dynamic between economic systems in Mistrock and the rest of Aldarin. And I just want us to keep that in mind today as we explore this chunk, probably the biggest villa in all of Aldarin, that has its own private theater, whereas Mistrock is just this small, working-class mining town directly next to these opulent regions, and it's the reason these opulent regions have their wealth too, but that wealth doesn't trickle down to Mistrock in the same way. Okay, so with that in mind, let's examine the Villa Guard. The examine text says, passage by invitation only. In a previous quest, Death on the Isle, I served as a butler for a party in this big villa here, and so I am allowed to just pass through the entryway, and we can get on with exploring things. There's a wheelbarrow here. It says a wooden wheelbarrow. There's a fountain with kind of a very light, reddish liquid, and the examine text says, is that wine? I mean, if we needed any more of a show of just excess wealth, to have a fountain in the very front of where you live, where it is just gushing wine constantly, that is such a slap in the face to the citizens of Mistrock, who are of relatively modest means. Okay, there's a statue to the north called the Statue of Taur, T-A-U-R. If I examine it, it says a statue of the legendary hero Taur, the young bull. I've never heard of that person, I don't remember that. And then to the south there's a statue of Zerna, a statue of the legendary hero Zerna, the mother of wisdom. So these are cultural heroes in this area, presumably. Taur, and Zerna. There's a table to the south. This just says useful for putting things on. And there's these tall cypress trees that to me remind me so much of the Mediterranean. And the examine text says, an impressively tall tree native to Varlamore. Oh, native to Varlamore. So not just a species of tree brought in by others. There's another fountain here. It just says soggy, and it looks like this fountain has water. So two of the fountains of this villa look to have water, but one of them has wine. Oh, there's another statue of Taur. I'm trying to say the word. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce that. Because if I say tower, T-A-U-R, it sounds like T-O-W-E-R. If I say tar, it sounds like T-A-R. If I say tor, it sounds like T-O-R. Tar. I'm going to try to say tar, like that, I think. That sounds more like it is its own unique way of pronouncing it that includes both letters. Okay, there's a cleaner by the front door. If we examine them, it says keeping things clean. We can run all the way to the north. And we can... Oh, can we? Yep, and we can run along the northern edge, right along the edge of the chunk. Oh, I accidentally ran out of the chunk. I'm so sorry. And now we're looking out down the terrace onto the stage for the theater. And there's a book on one of the concrete kind of bleachers here. If I examine it, it says, "The worn pages are crusty and smell dusty." That's interesting that I can smell them all the way from over here. There's like a whole hedge in between me. It's like 3 tiles away. There's also a villa guard right here at the entrance to the theater to the east. It says again, passage by invitation only, and I can also examine the entryway. It says a way through. Let's go into the villa proper before we explore the theater. There is a dog called a smart-looking dog. If we examine it, it says, "What a handsome fellow." And if we pet it, I say, "Who's a good doggy?" And the dog says, "Woof." And now, the in-game music that's playing is Peace and Prosperity. So that also puts things into a little bit of a perspective around, the economic and this kind of social situation here. It's like, this is an area of peace and prosperity, just north of the area that it's a rugged working class town. Alright, now we're inside. There is a head butler we can talk to. Let's do that. The head butler says, "After all that, are you sure I can't convince you to join the union?" And they're referring to the events of this quest, and I think they're like a union of butlers, and I was a butler. So let's see, what do I have to say? Actually, I was wondering if... Kwani, I'll need to run and grab my forms, but if you wait there just a moment... I was going to ask if you had any spare equipment. Spare equipment? I may have a need to mask my identity again in the future, or perhaps carry a tray around. You're certain you don't want to join the union as well? I'm sure. I see. In that case, which equipment would you like? Whoa, I can get masks here. The ram mask. The head butler hands you a ram mask. Thanks. Let's see, can I get them all? Just change your idea about joining the union, or are you just here for more equipment? And I say, just the equipment, please. I mean, it'd be interesting if my character could join a union. I see. In that case, what do you need? A wolf mask. The head butler hands you a wolf mask. Thanks. Alright, let's get all the masks, and then we can examine them. The bird mask. And there is also a jaguar mask. And there's a couple more. There's the snake mask. Wow, there's a lot. And then I can get the butler's tray. Okay, so now I have 5 masks and a tray. And if I examine the butler, it says, is that a union flyer in his pocket? Again, the kind of writing of this game, I think, leaves something to be desired, because it's kind of apolitical. It's positioning my character as aware of unions, as being part of the labor force, just temporarily, the butler labor force that wants to create a union. But furthermore, not interested in talking about the union or joining the union, no solidarity there. And furthermore, shows up to this butler, and my character just wants stuff. It's like, give me stuff. No, I'm not even going to talk to you about your union. Can I just have all your stuff? I don't know. I think my character could really do better. Okay, these 5 masks are all bluish, and I can put them on. I can switch between them. I can also wear the butler's tray, which is in place of both my items. Both my equipable items and my hand slots. So if I zoom in, right now I'm wearing the snake mask, and I'm holding a tray which is like a slice of wood, like kind of like a cross section of a tree, like a thin one, and there's like a glass sitting on top of this like slice of wood, and there's like gold trim, and I'm holding my arm behind my back, and so now I'm looking like a butler. Okay, and let's examine the snake mask. It says a rather interesting mask of a snake. Okay, is it going to say anything unique? It just basically says that and then switches out the last word each time, so I can't really learn, I don't think, too much lore from this. What if I examined the butler's tray? A neat way to carry things. Alright, so there's not much to learn about from that, but there is someone here named Patsy, P-A-T-Z-I. Still here, Patsy? No thanks to you, this was meant to be a big moment for me and you totally upstaged me. Are you angry at me for getting involved in all of this? Did you forget it was you that hired me? This is the person who I started the quest with. I hired you to make me look better. And I don't think I did too bad a job. You never got kicked out, even though you did bring a thief in with you. I suppose. So how about that payment you promised? Well, you see, yeah, I thought as much. Alright. And then there's a guard named Hutza, who's carrying a makohidal, which is like a flat wooden weapon. You were quite impressive up on stage. Maybe you should take up a career in acting or investigating crime. Let's talk to Constantinius, who I can't remember, maybe is the owner of this villa? Well, I never imagined you'd be quite the actor. I have to admit, I rather surprised myself there. I don't suppose you'd like to be acting here in the future. To be honest, I prefer you to that odd fellow that brought you to my door. That's referring to Patsy, the person I was just talking to, and I say, that's a good idea, but it was a one-time offer, and Constantinius says, a shame to be sure. Anyway, do feel free to wander around the villa whenever you fancy. I don't recommend drinking from the wine fountain, though. And so we hear about the fountain of wine that we saw before. Okay. There's a side room with a big long table with 10 seats, 5 on either side of it. There's a couple tables in this villa that just have 3 bowls of wine, just kind of open. Let's go through the door and go to the... Oh, it says cupboard, keep out. Why does it say keep out? So I can't go down... Oh, I can't go into the cupboard area, but I can go upstairs to the top floor of the villa. Let's go there. Alright, anything we can find here? There's like a bunk area with 4 bunk beds, like 4 beds total. There's a chest here that I can examine for storing things, but I can't open it. There's a bathroom with a bathtub. There's another room with, this one has 6 beds in it, but there's a wardrobe where I can take a uniform, and it says I take a uniform from the wardrobe. So now I can wear the butler's uniform. Alright, there's more items we have access to in this chunk. Now let's climb up the staircase. And there are bookshelves that I can't search. And... there's a big bedroom with a big bed. Apparently, I'm assuming this is Constantinius's bedroom. There's a table with like money on it. Oh, I was going to examine that. If I examine the table, it says a place to work. So the table has like a bunch of money. There's like a gold like vault or safe right next to it. So yeah, Constantinius is loaded. And then there's the cellar entrance nearby. So let's go downstairs to the very bottom, to the basement of the villa where the cellar is. There's a bunch of wine casks and things down here. And I'm running south, past a big bunch of wine storage. I can examine this antique wine, and it says dangerously red. But there is a chest that I can open in the very southern part of this room, so I'm going to run over there. I open the chest and find a note inside. It says, taken for a clean, be back soon. After the quest, that's something you can do to get on access to a teleport shortcut, but so that's not really going to matter for this playthrough. I was just checking to see if maybe there was any sort of money or anything in there. Okay, so in the next room over, there's just a bunch of like storage barrels for wine, and then we can enter a secret bookshelf passage into the room below the theater. So let's go there now. Now we are in the changing room, or like the kind of green room for the theater, and we can talk to the costumer, who says, "You were very brave for going on stage to confront a killer." This is referring to the quest. "Looks like you did well to get her to surrender without damaging her costume." I guess the costumer cares a lot about the costume. I say, "It was very well made, makes the job of not damaging it much easier." "Why, thank you, I credit my needles for the good work." "Would I be able to get one of them for my own purposes? I suppose I could part with one if you're careful not to lose it." "I'll be careful." The costumer gives you one of her special needles. Interesting. I don't know what you can do with this. If I examine it, it says threaded. So it's like a, kind of like a bronze-looking needle, and it has some red thread looped through it. And I wonder what I can use it on. Let me try to use it on my costume. Nothing interesting happens, and on the bottom of the uniform, no. So that's interesting to know that if we ever need a costumer's needle or a costume needle, we can get one right here from the costumer. And I don't think there's anything else that I can interact with down here. So let's go up the stairs to the back, the kind of like secret back part of the, oh, I shouldn't have done that, of the theater. Actually, what I'm going to do, because I said I shouldn't have done that, because when I climbed up the stairs, I was outside of the chunk. So what I think I should do now is, since we've already completed the chunk task for this chunk, just for continuity of like our little journey, let's roll 2 more chunks, and hopefully one of them will be this like back of the theater that we can choose, and just kind of finish this area off. So I'm going to roll 2. I'm waiting for the interface. Okay, it's showing me the 2 that it's going to roll. Okay, I'm going to say take me there, and yes, we can unlock the back of the theater. So now we've done that. And just a note about how this chunk rolling process works. Every time you unlock a new chunk, it gives you, it updates the list of possible chunks you can unlock the next time you roll, like when you complete all the chunk tasks. So now it's showing me like a couple chunks that are part of the mainland of Varlamore, and I actually want to turn those off so that I'm not allowed to access them yet, because what I want to do is I want to fully explore the island and unlock the docks before I use the docks to travel to Sunset Coast, which is right across the strait, like of water on the mainland. The way I want to do this chunk locked thing is like not just like expand somewhere I wouldn't be able to get to. I have to like expand through transportation routes and then continue exploring from that chunk on the new like island or piece of land, or in this case mainland. If you check out the website cozyorsrslore.wordpress.com, you can see a page that describes how this chunk series works. And it has a link to the map, so you can always go and look at the kind of most recent version of the map. It's an interactive map. It's the same one I use, it's just view only. And if you go and look at that, you'll kind of see what I mean. So right now I turned off 2 chunks that the map says I should have access to, but I don't think I should, because I can't really even get there. And first I think I should finish exploring the island and then unlock the docks in the island, and then use the docks to travel to Sunset Coast, and from there continue exploring Varlamore, starting from that one new chunk of the coast. So I hope that makes sense. Anyway, for now we have this chunk unlocked, and there are no new tasks associated with it. We can just explore it, and when we're done, we'll be able to roll another new chunk. Oh, and I need to add, this is an unlocked chunk in the extension, the RuneLite plugin I'm using. It's 5933. Alright, so now that's unlocked. And we can climb up the stairs. And we can we're like standing on the stage of the theater now. I can examine this book. Again, it smells dusty. I'm just running around the theater, and there's really not much else to look at here. It's just a big theater, kind of like a very classical, ancient, like Roman style of like small community theater, all just like made out of like stone, basically. So I think I've explored everything I can there, but there's a side path that I can navigate with agility, so I'm navigating these loose rocks, and once we run all the way down the bottom of this side path, we will have explored all of this chunk and the new chunk. It's all of those 2 chunks. So now we have 4 chunks that have been unlocked and fully explored, and 2 chunks to roll to see where we go next time. Well, I think that's gonna wrap it up for these chunks. We got a little bit of lore, more lore than in the last chunk, which was just, well, yeah, the last chunk was just a mine. The one we completed last time, and then we just had unlocked the chunk we started with this time, but postponed going through it and exploring it and talking about the lore. So I think what we should do now is roll our next chunk and choose it, and then next time we'll do the tasks. There's going to be more tasks next time, and hopefully some more lore too. So next time we'll do those tasks, and we will also explore the lore and talk to people that are in the next chunk. So let's hit roll 2. It's either going to roll the downtown kind of Aldarin area, or it's going to roll the docks. Okay, and it rolls both, so I can choose one of them. I'm going to choose the downtown area because I want to go from there. I want to explore the whole rest of the island, and then have the final chunk that we unlock here on Aldarin being the docks, and then in a future episode we'll do the tasks in that chunk, and then we'll travel over to the mainland, and then we'll explore the mainland from there. So I am unlocking chunk number 1, which is called Moonrise Alchemical Headquarters. That's chunk 5421. So I gotta unlock that one in my plugin now. 5421. And there we go. It's unlocked. So, what this does mean is we have access to a bank, but we're not going to use it because we're doing an Ironlike account where we can't use banks. But there's a bunch of stuff here, and I do see right away there's a spade in our new chunk that we can take. So what I am going to do is I'm going to run over to the bank, because I bank in between episodes. Oh dear. Oh, hold on. I just noticed that when I clicked over to the bank area, it started running north, and it was going to take us out of our chunk into an area we haven't unlocked, so we can't do that. We've got to find another way of getting there. I think we have to run all the way south into... No, we just got to run a little bit of the way south and then take this other path up so that we don't end up leaving our chunk to get there. But I am going to go over to the bank because I bank in between episodes, and so that's why I'm going to finish it off for this episode. But first I'm going to tell you what items we have on us now, and I'll put a screenshot of these in the show notes as well. So the new ones we got are the snake mask, the butler's tray, the butler's uniform, top and bottom. And then we also got the ram mask, the wolf mask, the bird mask, and the jaguar mask. And the other item we got was the costume needle. And we can, I imagine, get all of these new items back anytime, so I am probably going to drop them here now. And if we ever need them in the future, we'll just get them. So I'll just click the destroy option on them, and then that'll take care of those. And so the inventory is probably going to look exactly like last time, except maybe I'll keep the costume needle around for now. So anyway, I'll go get rid of these items at the end of the episode, but I think we're ready to do kind of wrap-up, reflection, and then saying goodbye. So, yeah, in this episode we started by reflecting on kind of the income and wealth disparity, how the humans have occupied most of the island and most of the good, like, agricultural land. That's why they have their wineries up here and stuff. And Mistrock is kind of relegated to being a mining town with low wealth. It just sells what it mines, what it extracts from the land to the humans to the north. And I think it's just a really striking little microcosm of society. It just shows in such stark detail these kind of unjust, exploitative, and kind of manipulative economic systems that support some people and their wealth and their use of land and limit other people's. And it would be really cool to see if elsewhere in Varlamore or if anywhere else in the game we find alternatives to that, places that are much more like egalitarian, community-based, where everyone has kind of equal access to resources and opportunity, but maybe we won't ever find that in this game. Maybe it's just something that we have to imagine beyond the game. Yeah, so those are kind of my thoughts on that for now. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Cozy Old School RuneScape Lore. I think it's time to wrap it up, but I want to thank you so much for joining me on this next kind of bit of our chunk-based Varlamore-Locked series. Now we have 5 chunks unlocked. All of Mistrock, and then the kind of southern part of Aldarin proper. And next time we'll explore the kind of main downtown area of Varlamore that's called Moonrise Alchemical Headquarters. And I'm going to try to keep it to mainly 1 chunk per episode. I know in the past I said that, I'm trying to keep it 1 chunk per episode, but this time there was such a tiny sliver of the extra chunk, and then I had no tasks, and it was just kind of about completing the other chunks, so I think it made sense to just kind of loop them into the same episode today. But that's going to do it for this evening's episode. I hope you have such a good evening and that you sleep so well. Thanks for joining me, and I'm going to say good night and goodbye for now.